cool thing about having a threaded bottom bracket, basically the bike is going to dictate that. So the frame is that you're able to take it out, you can clean it, you can inspect it, you can re-grease it, and you can re-torque it. So if you have any noise, any creaking under pressure, either you're climbing up a hill, crack, could be many things, but a lot of times the bottom bracket does get blamed for that. Usually got loose a little bit of dirt gets in there, combined with lack of grease, not torqued properly, that'll get you your creaking. The other side is your press fit, where there's no threads. Your bottom bracket gets pressed into the frame with friction, held in there with friction. If that starts to creak, or you want to go in there and inspect and look at stuff, you have to hit it out with a hammer. You got to bang it out. We're possibly damaging those bearings. So if you're going to be doing that, you might as well be replacing your whole bottom bracket at that point. This is we got notches here, probably 22 notches, maybe not, maybe 19, something like that. But this is a Truvative, but a very common Shimano is going to look like this too. So this is the old school tool. This is the Park tool. This is the BBT-19. And they upgraded to this blue anodized, real pretty, probably charge you more money because it looks great and it's really light. This is a BBT 69.2, probably the diameter. So whichever's clever, this fits pretty good. You just always want that tool to fit nice and tight. Very minimal play in there. Let's try this one here. Not too bad, a little bit more movement, but I feel pretty good about that too. Whichever tool you decide to use, we're just going to apply good pressure. A lot of these can be very shallow, meaning the tool's not going to grab on very good. It's you always want to, once you get on here, press inward, always keep good pressure. Want that tool to make a good bite onto that component, and then you can start your turning. So it can be a little bit difficult to do that. Like I just slipped off right there, wasn't even trying. But we're on our drive side, meaning this is a side where your chain is. Your chain is driving everything, turning your cranks, turning the wheel. So this, very common for this drive side, I'd say 99.9% of your bikes out there, this is a reverse thread. So this one actually screws in going counterclockwise, so turning to the left is going to be tightening. So if I'm going to be loosening, I'm going to go clockwise, I'm going to go righty-tighty direction, which is actually going to be righty loosening. So that can also be known as a left-handed thread. So just good technique here, good rule of thumb. I like to get yourself in a comfortable position, move the bike to you, don't move yourself into an awkward position. You'll have less leverage, more chance of hurting yourself. Tool's going to slip, knuckles are going to get beat up. So I usually throw my arm over the top tube, get your armpit on the top tube. And depending how long your arms are, you could always move your bike in the repair stand, and repair stand's going to be your best friend. That'd be your very first investment. So I'm going to go more or less horizontal the best I can. So if I can get my hips on top of my tool, I can be able to drop my body. I'm going to have great leverage. I can also catch myself if I slip. I'm not going to go flying anywhere. So I'm going to be going down in the clockwise position for loosening. Now I already feel awkward right here, so I'm going to bring my hand back over. I'm not going to have my hand over the top, but I will have it here, horizontal again, trying to have our hips on top here, pushing inward, and I'm going to try to do this with one person. So pushing in, I'm going to come down, and I'm just trying to use body weight. I just need to move this less than a quarter of a turn. That'll break it free, and then it'll get much easier from there. So, okay, that was pretty easy. I always prepare myself for a fight. Prepare yourself if something slips. Where's it going to go? Is it going to go into something sharp? Is your hand going to get cut? Are we going to start messing up our component or our tool? So once that's free, yeah, that's pretty much finger loose right there. And you can use your fingers here from here, or you can take the tool apart and use the tool for assistance, just at this piece here. So again, going in the clockwise motion and taking this guy off, we're going to be able to see right off the bat if there's any grease on these threads. There's a little bit there, may not come up on camera, but a little bit, not a whole bunch. Stuff like this, we can wipe this down. We're going to wipe off all the old stuff, all the old dirt on the frame, as well as the bottom bracket. I'm going to do both sides. You can inspect, and then we're going to reapply fresh grease on these threads. of the bottom bracket, and then also the bottom bracket shell of the bike. So grease on both sides, because this area is prone to a lot of debris, water, mud, grit. Every time you go through puddles, creeks, whatnot, a lot of stuff can get in here. So the grease is going to help protect it, keep water, debris from getting in. As long as we're torqued up properly, it's also going to limit how much stuff can get in here. Also protecting your bearing, so less debris gets through here, the fresher your bearings will be, they'll last longer. So once you give your barrel and bracket a little wipe down, we're also going to wipe the frame. And just be careful, there could be small little slivers of metal that kind of came undone from your bottom bracket if we had a little abuse prior, but you don't want to get stuck. Like that might have been a piece right there. Might have a little bit of flake of paint or something like that. But we can go with a piece of grass or something. You can go in the motion of the loosening, so I'm going to go clockwise, and this will maybe help back some dirt out and get it out of the threads. So usually a rag will take care of this. Just kind of continue to turn your rag over. If you really want to get it clean, we can get a brush. You can get a wire brush. You can hit it with some degreaser, give it a nice full wipe down. But you want to do this to both sides. So once we do that, then we can apply fresh grease. And really when you do grease, we just need to get the grease in between every thread, take off your excess. That's just going to keep things a little cleaner, less of a chance to make a mess. So you can use finger, you can use a brush. And just be aware too, when you do take your stuff apart, there's actually a washer here, or it's a spacer. It's probably a 2.5 millimeter. It may or may not be required on your bike, so that's where you got to do your research. And every manufacturer may call for something different. So it's hard to tell, but I am getting grease in between every thread, and we're going to do the same thing with your bottom bracket. And just get a nice full 360. And again, this is going to be opposite direction from what we're used to. So instead of going clockwise righty-tighty, we're going to go lefty, like we're going lefty-loosey, but we're going lefty-tighty. So this is a left-handed thread. And we're going to come in fairly even. If you are slightly angled this direction, and it's just the slightest amount, that's what's going to really give you a hard time. But if you can apply nice flat pressure against this flat surface here, gentle pressure as you're going. If you get stuck right away, just dislodge, try again. Really gentle pressure. You don't want to be pushing in at this point. So I'm getting stuck right off the bat. So here's a little tip here. So I need to find where this first thread starts and where this first thread starts. So I'm going to go in the opposite direction. Now, hopefully that's not confusing. So I'm going to be tightening in this direction, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going in this other direction as I'm trying to keep a nice flat surface, and this thread will drop into this thread here. As soon as you feel that vibration or that little click, not really a loud click, you're just going to feel it kind of drop in. You may hear something. As soon as you hear or feel it, stop there and then start tightening direction, and it should find its home. So if my tightening direction is this way, I'm going to go opposite. If you could do really a long duration without stopping, or getting stuck already. So I'm going very gentle, going opposite direction, and you may have to start over, so try and keep that. And I'm waiting for that little drop in. Boom. Probably didn't hear that, but I felt a little vibration kind of dropped in. Now I'm starting the tightening motion, and it caught for me. So basically we just need these two areas to kind of mate or match up with each other, and you're going to feel that in your fingers. So you may not feel it right away. That may take some time to get that feel. Some people have it right off the bat. It's something you may have to learn. But angle is everything. These threads are so fine that it's easy to misalign them, kind of mar up the first thread, and then we're pretty much kind of going nowhere after that. We're just going to be spinning our wheels and kind of messing up our threads, and then we have to somehow clean those threads up again, whether we're getting a thread chaser for the frame or a really fine pick or a very special triangular file to clean the thread up. So I'm going to take this as far as I can by fingers. Again, you could use a regular tool here and use the tool for assistance. They actually give me some knurling here so I can get a grip. So hand tight there, and then we'll come back with a torque wrench, and some of these are marked. This one has some markings here, 20 to 30 foot-pounds, but we're going to be using Newton meters, so either you have a conversion chart. Generally, we're looking anywhere from 40 to 50, 54 or 52 Newton meters. I know it's pretty vague, but that's the area most bottom brackets or cranksets call for. So this is where a bigger torque wrench, this is a Park Tool TW 6.2. May not use this all the time, but very common if you're dealing with cassettes, 40 Newton meters, this guy will do it. Goes from 10 to 55 or 60. It'll generally take care of everything on the bike. This will be very common if you're doing a lot of work in crankset bottom bracket area, cassette, or if you have disc brakes that have a lock ring, very similar. You may even be using the same tool for a bottom bracket or for a cassette. That's going to tighten up your, if they're called center locks for your disc or rotor. If they're not center locks, you're doing a 6-bolt. So we're tightening in the loosening direction, so counterclockwise. So here I will throw my arm over the top tube. Make sure you have your ratchet in the correct direction. So I'm going to be going that direction. So I'll be lifting up. So here I have plenty of good torque going on right here. Upward, so I can start right about here. Again, somewhat horizontal. Find that right notch, boom. And then find your direction. You do coming up, pressure inward. And then just lifting up like right there. So I got a click right there. Hands all the way down at the back end with your torque wrench, very important, rather than being here. You want your hand at the end. So that was way too light. So right now that's set to like 14, which we don't want. So this is spring loaded, push in as you turn. And there's a red line here. I'm gonna line my red line with a 40. So here I got tons of power. I'm braced here, pushing in here, lift up, boom, got a click. That was 40, so I'm gonna say that's a little bit on the light side. Let's see, so if we convert 25 to 30 foot-pounds, that's foot. So there's foot and then there's an inch. This guy, my conversion table only goes from inch-pounds. So I'm actually gonna take it up to, we're gonna go just shy of 50. So let's say 48. And moved a little bit more, tighten a little more, let's do 50. So when in doubt, you could always stop, use a regular wrench, break it free, get the feel of that, tighten it, go back to where you think it was. So you can use your personal experience and your common sense, and then we can always reuse this guy. So I wouldn't really take it anywhere above 52, 54, but yeah, so that's about, screw it. Let's go round it off to 50. Yeah, barely moved. Okay, but that click is what we want. The head actually pivots on this. It kind of goes, the click, you're not always gonna hear it. You're gonna feel the movement. It's almost tightening to like point where the head wants to give. So this actually, the handle will go. So when you feel that, relax pressure. If you want to confirm it, relax your pressure, start applying pressure very lightly until you get that movement. If you really want to make sure, you can put your finger here. We'll call this the neck. Here's the head. Here's the body. We're going to put 2 fingers, pinch it right where they meet, so right at the neck. And you're going to feel this pivot. So we'll see if it picks up on camera. That movement there, when you put your fingers here, you're going to feel that movement.